G'day team, and welcome to a short lesson on introductions into Prowords. So, essentially, Prowords are short words or short kind of combinations of words that are easily understandable on the radio, and it makes communicating really clear and concise. Prowords are used in every single transition over the radio, and we're just going to run through some common ones that we use a lot and that you use a lot. Nice. Let's get into it. So, basically, the first word that we have is this is. So you use this is in the context of when you want to communicate with another substation or another radio. So, for example, I would say my call sign was 0 Alpha 1. I wanted to communicate with 0 Alpha 2. I would say 0 Alpha 2, 0 Alpha 2, this is 0 Alpha 1. So essentially, this means that this is telling 0 Alpha 2 that this is 0 Alpha 1 that wants to talk to them. Nice. So that one's pretty easy, pretty self-explanatory. The second word is Roger. So you'll probably hear this word around the garrison a lot, as well as in the field and over the radio, because it's widely used everywhere. Great word, I really like it. So Roger basically means, yes, I understand. That's it. Very, very simple. The next word that we have is Wilco. So Wilco is like Roger, so except it means yes, I understand, and I will comply, or I will get this done, in other words. So someone could ask you to do something, you have to deliver such and such number of barrels to such and such a place, and you could, instead of saying, yes, I'll do that, sweet, you could just say, Wilco. And that means, yes, I understand, yes, I'll do it. Nice. So the next pro word we have is figures. So you use figures whenever saying numbers. Sorry, you use figures just before saying numbers over the radio. So for example, instead of saying, if you're communicating and instead of being like, oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you would say figures 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So instead of saying numbers, before you say numbers, you want to say figures beforehand, so it makes it clear that you're saying numbers. The next pro word is grid. So you use grid whenever you're about to read out a grid reference. So for example, say I wanted to read out a 6-figure grid reference to 0 Alpha 2. I would say 0 Alpha 2, this is 0 Alpha 1, grid, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that makes it clear that what you're telling them is you're telling them that it's a grid reference. It's not just a random string of numbers. By using grid, you're making sure that they're not going to get mixed up between anything else. So it's not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times numbers of jerry cans or something. This is the grid reference that they have to go to. Or this is the grid reference that you are at. Something like that. The next word we have that's really important is over. So you say this at the end of every, well, almost at the end of every transition. We'll get around to this in a second. But over basically means I finished speaking for now. I respect a reply from you. So, and then you'll respect a reply within maybe like 5 seconds, probably around 5 seconds. But yeah, so nice. And then the final one, one of the final common ones that we use is out. So out is used by the person who opened the transmission, so the person who first initiated the call, and that's basically used to say, we've finished speaking, we don't expect any other conversation, this is the end of the conversation. So pro words can also be used to measure signal strength, like when undergoing a radio check or something with the net control station. So for those of you that don't know already, a radio check is you're basically checking how well the radios are working before you go out and you start using them. So for example, you could use the pro words loud and clear to signify that your radio the volume is loud and the transmissions that are coming through are really clear. Or you could say something, use the pro words, for example, fading and unreadable. So the transmission is fading in and out, and you can't read what they're saying at all. There's a loud crackly noise happening all the time. So it's really important to be clear in your radio checks and to make sure that you're honest. So instead of just saying loud and clear every time, if there's an issue, make sure you say it. Use your pro words. Nice, clear, and concise. So we're just going to run over some common mistakes of using pro words. Something that's very apparent is people using over and out. So this whole sentence doesn't make sense because over means I'm finished speaking, I expect a reply, and out means I'm finished speaking, I don't expect a reply. So these two words or pro words don't mix together because they mean completely different things. So you might hear in the movies someone like, "Oh yeah, over and out," but we don't want to hear that in real life because yeah, obviously it just doesn't make sense. The second example is saying Roger Wilco. So although technically this does make sense, you can shorten this down to just Wilco because Wilco incorporates Roger. So instead of saying I understand, I will comply, which is Roger Wilco, you can just say Wilco. So in conclusion, pro words are select words that make it really clear and concise when communicating through radio communications. They're a really, really important way to communicate, and yeah, they're pretty simple, pretty easy. Just make sure that when using them, you're clear and you speak in a slow tone of voice. Thank you for coming to this short lesson.